Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my channel? Thank you so much. In my past life, I was nothing more than a cover for his disgraceful sibling relationship. On our wedding day, his sister threatened to jump off a building, so he abandoned the ceremony, leaving me alone to face the guests. Later, I got pregnant and gave birth, but his sister played her tricks again, and once more my husband left me behind. In the end, it all led to a tragic childbirth. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back at the scene of that absurd wedding. This time, I didn't beg him not to leave like before. Instead, I quietly adjusted his suit and told him softly, "Be careful on your way, Shane." Holding my hand with an apologetic expression, he said, "I'm sorry, Emily." Shane's sister, Samantha, was utterly dependent on him emotionally and materially. She demanded everything from her brother. Even though I knew Samantha wasn't truly suicidal, Shane still abandoned our wedding to comfort her, leaving me to manage everything alone. I changed into my reception dress and entertained the guests until the end of the ceremony. By the time Shane returned, Samantha had taken her medication and was fine. I remained calm and gracious, saying in a gentle tone, "It's okay, we're married now, and Samantha is my sister too." My words made him stiffen slightly, his expression slyly changing. In my previous life, I had naively walked into this marriage, unaware that I was merely a shield for their inappropriate sibling relationship. Shane and Samantha were half-siblings, growing up under the same roof. Samantha had always been overly attached to him, interfering with his dating life and eventually even his marriage. Their father, seeing this, arranged for me and Shane to marry, hoping to preserve Samantha's reputation. Shane, unwilling to disgrace her, reluctantly agreed to the marriage. After we married, they were practically inseparable. On several occasions when I wasn't around, they even shared the same room overnight. Shane's father refused to let me divorce, citing family honor, and I endured over 1,000 agonizing days in the suffocating marriage. When I got pregnant, I thought things might improve, but Samantha's retaliation only intensified. During my pregnancy, she attempted to harm me multiple times, almost causing a miscarriage. When I finally went into labor, Samantha deliberately lured Shane away, leaving me stranded in an isolated mountain area without any phone signal. Both my child and I died that day. Fate played a cruel joke on me, sending me back to the beginning. After the wedding, we returned home, where Samantha was sitting barefoot in the living room. Shane immediately rushed to her, full of concern. "Samantha, why aren't you wearing shoes?" "It's so cold you could catch a chill," he said, warming her feet with his hands. Samantha shot me a defiant look, but I just smiled and returned to my room. I knew this wedding night, which should have been mine, now belonged to her. As expected, Shane didn't return that night. He was busy comforting his sister. The next morning, the household staff prepared breakfast. When I walked out, I saw Shane feeding milk to Samantha, who, despite being in her 20s, acted like a child. "You're the best brother," she said in a coy voice. Shane, noticing me, quickly poured a glass of milk for me as well. "Emily, come and have breakfast." I sat beside him and picked up a piece of toast, but Samantha snapped, "That's for me." Shane made it especially for me. "You're not allowed to eat it." I quietly put it down and she smirked triumphantly. Dragging the knife across the toast, she made a sharp grating noise that reminded me of how she had trampled all over me in my previous life. Without hesitation, I stood up, overturned my plate onto the floor, and left the room. Samantha started crying instinctively, but I had already lost my appetite. "I'm leaving," I said coldly. "Spend more time with your sister." Shane was stunned, not expecting the once docile me to change so drastically. "Emily, where are you going?" he asked. I picked up my bag and smiled. "To work, of course." Since the Shane family only saw me as a cover, I might as well make the most of it. After all, the shares and money they gave me when we married were real assets. I intended to use them to grow my influence. When I arrived at the office, Shane's father seemed surprised. "Emily, you have a month of leave for your honeymoon. Why not take some time off with Shane?" he asked with his usual hypocritical smile. In my previous life, he had threatened to kill my parents if I dared to divorce Shane. To cover up his scandal, he sacrificed my happiness. Without hesitation, the Shane family truly had no redeeming qualities. But now I smiled sweetly and replied, "Dad, I just couldn't stop thinking about how hard you've been working. I wanted to come back and help." He was delighted. "Ah, you're much more capable than my own children. I've already arranged for your new office to be renovated. If there's any furniture you like, let the secretary know and we'll have it purchased later." As I was settling into my office, an assistant brought me tea and casually mentioned, "I just saw Mr. Shane book 2 tickets to Tokyo Disneyland. Emily, you're so lucky." I stayed calm. Those tickets were certainly not for me. Shane must have bought them to appease Samantha. Before leaving, Samantha dropped several hints to provoke me, but I ignored her. Shane, feeling guilty, asked, "Emily, what gift would you like me to bring back from Japan?" I smiled warmly and said, "I don't need anything. Just don't overwork yourself." He seemed touched and replied, "I'm sorry for making you feel wronged by marrying me." While helping him pack, I casually asked, "How's that deal with Mr. Lewis going?" He hesitated before replying, "Why do you ask?" "You never cared about my work before." "I noticed how busy you've been and thought I could help," I said. Since our marriage, Samantha had monopolized his time, leaving him with no energy for work. To him, I was a convenient solution. Shane handed me the documents for the deal with Mr. Lewis, saying, "He's a tough negotiator." I smiled inwardly. This time I would turn the situation to my advantage if you can't handle it, Shane said, glancing at the documents. "Just wait for me to come back," I quickly replied. "Let me give it a try. If it doesn't work out, it won't affect you much." We hadn't even spoken for 10 minutes before Samantha knocked on the door. "Brother," she called sweetly, "will you watch a movie with me?" Without hesitation, Shane put down the documents and left with her. The two of them had their own private hideaway, a theater room in the basement with a starry sky ceiling. Samantha insisted on having her brother accompany her every time she watched a movie. No one else was allowed inside, not even Shane's parents. When Samantha was in a bad mood, Shane would spend entire nights in there comforting her. As expected, he didn't come back that night. I didn't care in the slightest. Early the next morning, I got up and went to work. With my experience from my previous life, I quickly became proficient in handling the company's operations. While Shane was off vacationing in Japan with Samantha, I stayed by Shane's father's side, managing business affairs. My professional knowledge and keen insight earned me his recognition and trust in no time. Shane's father often sighed, lamenting, "I've raised 2 children, but neither is as reliable as my daughter-in-law." When Samantha returned from Japan, she was in high spirits, flaunting a necklace Shane had bought for her. "Sister-in-law, did you know my brother and I spent 3 days at Disneyland? We tried every ride and even bought matching rings." Her face was a picture of smug satisfaction. "It's beautiful, it really suits your complexion," I said. She froze for a moment, clearly not expecting me to remain so composed. Recovering quickly, she added sarcastically, "I feel bad, sister-in-law. This trip was supposed to be your honeymoon with Shane, but he left you behind to accompany me." Closing the folder in my hands, I turned to her with a calm smile. "It's fine, Samantha. As long as it's something you want, I won't compete with you. But what I want, I'll make sure your family compensates me for piece by piece." Unable to provoke me further, Samantha sulked and left. From that point on, our household developed a peculiar dynamic. I played the role of the forgiving and magnanimous wife, turning a blind eye to their antics. Samantha, desperate to prove her importance to Shane, acted out incessantly while he continued to dote on her without limits. Their behavior grew increasingly blatant in front of me. Shane's parents didn't live with us full-time, visiting only occasionally, though they seemed to sense something was off. My efforts to maintain appearances ensured they didn't dig deeper. Shane, feeling guilty for neglecting me, introduced more clients to me, and my workload grew heavier. Sometimes I stayed overnight at the office. Shane's father's health began to decline, requiring frequent hospital visits. I accompanied him regularly, taking care of appointments, prescriptions, and checkups. Even the attending physician and once remarked, "Mr. Shane, your daughter is so considerate." His smile faltered momentarily. His own daughter was nothing like me, and he knew it. But he didn't correct the doctor. Perhaps in his heart, he was beginning to accept me as a substitute daughter. I hadn't forgotten, though, how in my previous life he had coerced me into staying with Shane one day after another. During a hospital visit, Shane's father hesitated before speaking. "Emily, I know marrying Shane has been difficult for you. Your relationship is still rocky, but once you have a child, everything will get better. Our family cannot be without an heir. You should put in some effort." Outwardly, I appeared obedient, but inwardly I sneered. With someone as unstable as Samantha around, having a child would only lead to the same tragic ending as before. During a family dinner, the topic of children came up again. Samantha immediately exploded, "You can't have children in this world. The only person my brother can love the most is me." Shane quickly tried to calm her. "Samantha, don't be upset. Dad was just joking." Samantha wasn't appeased. She demanded, "Swear to me. Swear that if you ever have a child, you'll meet a terrible end." Helplessly, Shane did as she asked. I found it laughable. In my previous life, Shane and I had a child, and yet it was me and my baby who met a terrible fate. It seemed those who committed heinous acts faced no consequences while the innocent continued to suffer. Shane's father finally lost his patience and slammed the table. Samantha, I've had enough of your nonsense. Your brother and sister-in-law have been more than indulgent with you. If this family has no heir, the fault will lie squarely with you. Samantha stormed up to her father, yelling defiantly. Without hesitation, he slapped her. Chaos ensued. Samantha, already emotionally unstable, burst into tears and tantrums. Shane scrambled to console her. Dinner was left unfinished while Shane's parents fumed silently. I struggled to keep a straight face and suppress my laughter. I dropped off Shane's parents at their house, then went out for a late-night snack. After wandering around to clear my head, I returned home. When I opened the door, I found Samantha curled up in Shane's arms on the couch. They were bathed in dim light, creating an intimate atmosphere that was almost too delicate to interrupt. Samantha's tear-streaked face showed she had cried herself to sleep. Shane stayed in the same position, holding her. I quietly handed him a pillow and went to my room. The next morning, I got up feeling refreshed. Shane, however, looked utterly drained, dark circles under his eyes as he washed up. I handed him a glass of honey water. Don't go to work today. Stay home and take care of Samantha. He nodded wearily. Thank you for understanding. Not at all, I replied, smiling. I had more important matters to attend to. The elusive Mr. Lewis, who had evaded me for weeks, had finally agreed to a meeting at the office. I reviewed the negotiation materials before heading to Mr. Lewis's company. Young, accomplished, and notoriously difficult, Mr. Lewis would be a crucial turning point for my plans. I had scheduled meetings with Mr. Lewis at least 10 times, only to be rejected every single time. This time, I managed to secure a meeting by leveraging some connections. When the appointed time came, I waited in the conference room for half an hour before he finally appeared. The moment Mr. Lewis walked in, the pressure in the room seemed to spike. His imposing presence was undeniable. His assistant politely brought me a cup of coffee and apologized. Miss Joe, thank you for waiting. I set down the materials I had prepared and said, I appreciate your time. These are the details about our company. Please take a look. Mr. Lewis barely glanced at the documents before responding coolly, You know I already have a partnership with the Sean family, yet you dare openly pitch me a deal? I had expected this reaction. Maintaining my composure, I replied, Mr. Lewis, I understand your concerns. Let me be clear, I'm not here on behalf of the Sean family. I built my own team when I started working at the Sean Corporation. We've grown to a point where we can take on independent contracts. Over the past months, I had used resources provided through Sean to secure smaller projects. However, those smaller contracts were no longer sufficient for scaling my team. If I could secure a deal with you, I would have enough leverage to establish my independence completely. Business is about profit, I continued. If I can offer you a lower price and better service, wouldn't choosing my team be your optimal decision? In today's economic climate, most companies are focusing on cost reduction and efficiency improvements. Mr. Lewis gave a cold chuckle. Profit matters, yes, but I value stability and competence even more. How long do you think your hastily assembled team can provide me with reliable service? I knew his skepticism was reasonable. Mr. Lewis, my team is willing to work for you without compensation until you're satisfied. Here, I said, flipping to the final page of my proposal, are examples of past projects we've completed. I've handled independent contracts myself and delivered results. You won't be taking a loss by giving us a chance. Perhaps my sincerity moved him. Mr. Lewis finally relented, agreeing to give us 3 months. If he was satisfied with our work, he promised a 3-year contract. I left his office feeling victorious, my gratitude immense. That night, I worked late, returning home only to hear laughter echoing from the basement theater where Shane and Samantha were once again spending time together. The sound made my skin crawl and I quickly retreated to my room to sleep. For the next few days, I threw myself into work, often staying at the office until the early hours of the morning. Without my presence at home, Shane and Samantha became even bolder in their behavior. One day, a neighbor joked, Miss Joe, if you weren't around, I would have thought those 2 siblings were a married couple. I merely smiled, not bothering to respond. They wanted to play husband and wife. I decided to let them have their way. During this time, I essentially lived at the office, pouring all my energy into leading my team and perfecting our projects. Even Shane's father, who had always been critical, couldn't find any fault with my work. Since the disastrous family dinner, he had stopped pressuring us to have children, likely fearing that another public meltdown from Samantha would tarnish the family's reputation irreparably. With the money I saved during this period, I bought my parents a larger house and invested in several properties. My mother, unaware of the Shun siblings' twisted dynamic, noticed my unhappiness and asked gently, "Emily, be honest with me. Are you and Shane having problems?" I dismissed her worries with a casual, "No, everything's fine. Don't worry about me." She held my hand tightly. "We've saved all the money you've sent us. If things ever become unbearable, your father and I are here for you." I nodded firmly. My parents were the only people I could truly rely on in this world. As for Shane and Samantha, they were nothing more than stepping stones in my path to success. My relentless focus on work eventually caught Shane's attention. He began to notice how detached I had become from our home life. Feeling a sense of unease, he approached me one evening and said, "Emily, you don't need to work so hard. I earn more than enough for us to live comfortably." I quickly brought up Samantha. "Your sister's still emotionally unstable. You should stay home and take care of her." Deep down, I knew Samantha's obsessive need for Shane was becoming a strain on him. Their relationship, born out of dependence, had grown complicated over the years. But even the strongest bond couldn't withstand the erosion of time. We had barely exchanged a few sentences when Samantha barged in, grabbing Shane's arm. "Brother, I want to see the ocean. Will you take me?" I seized the opportunity. "It's perfect timing," I said with a smile. I happen to have 2 vouchers for a hot spring resort near the coast. After seeing the ocean, you can relax in the hot springs. Samantha looked at me with disdain but still took the tickets. "At least you know your place," she sneered. "I've been meaning to try a hot spring anyway." I smirked internally. I had deliberately chosen the most expensive and remote resort, ensuring they would be gone for several days. By the time they returned, I planned to have secured Mr. Lewis's contract. Shane hesitated. "A week is a long time, Samantha. I have work to do." Samantha shot me a glare before turning back to Shane. "Just let her handle it. She's so eager to take over everything anyway." I chimed in, "Exactly, leave the company to me. These tickets weren't easy to get. It would be a shame to waste them." Despite his reluctance, Shane wavered under Samantha's usual theatrics. She pouted, her eyes welling up with tears. "I don't care. I want to go." It was the same manipulative tactic she had used countless times. Before, however, it seemed less effective. Now, for once, Shane hesitated. "Samantha, let me finish some work first. Let me finish up this busy period and then I'll take you, okay? It's the end of the year and there's so much to handle. Plus, Emily can't manage everything alone," Shane said, seemingly concerned. That single sentence, which appeared to show consideration, was the trigger for Samantha's descent into madness. Her obsessive control over Shane had become second nature. She was used to his unwavering obedience. I sighed quietly. "What a pity you two don't go. I'll just give the ticket to someone else." Samantha shot me a venomous glare. "Who said we're not going?" Grabbing Shane's hand, she dragged him toward the window. "If you don't take me, I'll jump right now in front of you." Shane panicked immediately, offering apologies and promises to take her. In the end, they left the house together, sneaking away without informing Shane's parents. I covered for them, ensuring no one noticed their absence. The same week they left was also the final week of my agreement with Mr. Lewis. My team and I delivered a flawless result ahead of schedule, successfully securing a 3-year contract. After signing, Mr. Lewis transferred the first payment. With this startup capital, I now had the confidence to leave the Shun family for good, taking my team with me. My assistant, aware of my intentions, hesitated before asking, "Miss, I noticed the office building next door is renting spaces. Should we start scouting locations?" I set my pen down. No rush. There's still one final bomb that hasn't gone off yet. In my past life, my death had been the perfect cover for the siblings' scandalous relationship. After my passing, Shane publicly declared that his heartbreak prevented him from ever remarrying. Samantha then openly moved into our marital home under the guise of caring for her grieving brother. The two of them lived as if they were husband and wife, happier than anyone, though without children to show for it. This time, I had used the Shun family's resources to secure my own independence. Now that I had my own career, I would eventually break free. But before that, they would pay. Shane's father was hospitalized for bronchitis, and I visited him daily, bringing soup and checking in on his condition. "Where are Shane and Samantha?" he asked one day. "I haven't seen them around lately." Feigning unease, I replied, "Perhaps they're busy with something." He frowned, growing angry. "What kind of behavior is this? You're his wife, and you can't even keep track of your husband." I inwardly sneered. And you, as their father, haven't exactly done a stellar job keeping them in line. Trying to pacify him, I offered him a bowl of soup. Don't worry, sir. I'm managing the company in Shane's absence. Pulling out a proposal from my bag, I said, the end of the year is approaching and I've prepared plans for the company's annual banquet. This year, since it's winter, how about hosting it at the hot springs in Lingshan? The surrounding area has plenty. There are plenty of luxury hotels and scenic spots. After dinner, everyone can unwind and enjoy the hot springs. Trusting me completely, Shane's father entrusted the entire event to me. I finalized the guest list, reserved rooms and spa spots at the hotel, and calculated the timing perfectly. I knew Shane and Samantha would still be at the resort during the banquet. On the day of the event, I arrived early at the hot springs. This particular spa offered mixed bathing sessions, each slot accommodating up to 30 guests. I ensured the timing coincided with the siblings' bath, arranging for the hotel manager to clear the area and provide tickets to several key business partners, including Mr. Lewis, leading a group of distinguished guests. I accidentally barged into the hot springs where the siblings were enjoying their time together. The sight that greeted everyone was shocking. Samantha, wrapped in a towel, clung to Shane in the steaming water, their intimacy unmistakable. Shane's father, seeing his children in such a compromising situation, collapsed on the spot. The other business partners exchanged glances, their unspoken knowledge of the rumors now blatantly confirmed. Mr. Lewis crossed his arms, watching the scene unfold with amused detachment. Samantha, enraged, stormed out of the pool, wrapped in her towel, and charged toward me. You wretched woman, you set me up. I'll kill you. Shane hurriedly restrained her, struggling to keep her under control. Fighting heartbreak, I said softly, Samantha, I've always treated you like my own sister. I never expected you to do something like this. Regardless, you and Shane are related by blood. This is a twisted kind of love. Shane's face darkened as he glared at me. Emily, I never thought you could be so malicious. I shot back coldly, and who are you to judge what kind of person I am? Samantha still tried to lunge at me, but Shane dragged her back to their room. With my goal accomplished, I helped Shane's father to the hospital and made sure he was taken care of before returning to the hotel. As expected, the scandal spread like wildfire. Did you hear? The Shin siblings' relationship isn't ordinary. I know. How can a brother and sister behave like that? Don't they care about appearances? Apparently, this has been going on since before Shane got married. No wonder his father is so furious. He fell ill hearing the whispers. Around me, I smiled in satisfaction. This was exactly the outcome I wanted. Later that evening, Shane found me, his face a mixture of anger and frustration. Emily, what is the meaning of this? You deliberately arranged for us to be there, didn't you? Was this all just to humiliate us? I gazed out at the misty peaks of Lingen in the distance, their hazy outlines shrouded in white fog. It reminded me of my previous life, trapped in an endless maze, crashing blindly through the fog. Looking back now, those mountains that had once seemed so insurmountable were nothing but small, fleeting obstacles. The fog, too, was merely an illusion designed to obscure the truth. Life has never been anyone's cover-up, and my destiny will never serve as a springboard for others. Shane, everyone must bear the consequences of their choices. His voice was sharp as he spoke. Now that you've ruined Samantha and me, are you happy? I corrected him calmly. I didn't ruin you. You did it to yourselves. From the very beginning, Shane had failed to set boundaries in his relationship with his sister. He allowed her to develop feelings she shouldn't have, and now the damage was irreversible. Samantha's mentally collapsing now. Are you trying to drive her crazy? He demanded. I let out a cold laugh. Don't worry, she won't lose her mind. In fact, this might just be the outcome she wanted. Someone like Samantha, with her obsessive and chaotic nature, doesn't care about public opinion or societal values. All she knows is that this scandal has rendered our marriage meaningless. She can now enjoy having you all to herself without restraint. She's probably thrilled. But you're different, Shane, I continued. You're the eldest son of the Shun family, raised as an heir. You're bound by the weight of public opinion and moral expectations. A secret affair might have been thrilling, but exposing it to the world is devastating for you. That's the real breaking point between you and Samantha. Shane's father, furious and overwhelmed, had been hospitalized again. Meanwhile, I carried on with the annual company banquet as planned. Outwardly, everything remained calm and orderly. I ensured the guests were well fed and entertained while allowing the scandal to ferment in the background. Occasionally, I even added fuel to the fire by feeding harmless but provocative rumors to the right circles. Once everything was set into motion, I finally took a moment to relax, sitting by the hotel window with a cup of tea and admiring the mountain scenery. Lingshan was particularly beautiful this season. The frost-covered trees on the mountain sparkled like snow-covered emeralds. As I sipped my tea, someone sat down across from me. I glanced up and saw Mr. Lewis. His tone carried a hint of admiration as he remarked, decisive and efficient. You understand the art of striking precisely where it hurts. You have guts. Thank you, Mr. Lewis, I replied with a polite smile. He took a sip of his tea and said, I've heard the best white tea from Lingshan is locally produced and never sold to outsiders. He glanced at the tea in my cup, his expression contemplative. I called over the server and ordered him a cup of the same tea. That's correct. The production is limited, and it's usually not for sale, but I'm the owner, so I can offer you a cup, Mr. Lewis. Mr. Lewis showed no surprise. From the first time we met, he seemed to understand what kind of person I was. Someone with a calm mind, a sweet tongue, and ruthless methods. These were lessons I had learned the hard way in my previous life. So this stunt has probably ended your marriage with Shane, hasn't it? He asked. I smiled faintly. Not necessarily, we never registered the marriage officially. Oh, his curiosity was piqued when we got married. Samantha was so insistent on preventing it from being legally binding that she threatened to end her life. In the end, the paperwork was delayed and never completed. In hindsight, it saved me a lot of trouble. Mr. Lewis traced the steam rising from his cup with his fingertips as if trying to grasp something intangible. His face was as composed as ever, his sharp eyes betraying a faint glimmer of interest, much like a predator eyeing its prey. So you're single now? He asked. I shrugged. Single or not, it doesn't matter much to me. His lips curled into a warm smile as he pulled out a business card. It matters to me. The card bore a private number he hadn't shared before, a clear signal that a relationship could take a new turn. Without another word, he stood and left, his departure deliberate, leaving an air of intrigue in his wake. After finishing my tea, I went upstairs to check on Samantha. She was lying in bed with Shane, coaxing her to eat some porridge. Please, Samantha, eat something for me, he pleaded, his voice weary. She pouted, stubbornly refusing to open her mouth. When she saw me enter, her expression turned vicious. You! What are you doing here? Get out! I clapped my hands slightly and said with mock concern, I'm just here to remind you both that your father is still in the hospital. Maybe you should care a little about whether he lives or dies. Shane's father had narrowly escaped danger, only to collapse again when he learned that the family scandal was spreading like wildfire. The doctors had stabilized him for now, but he woke up shouting about his shame and guilt, lamenting that he could no longer face his ancestors. The chaos in the Shin family had become the talk of the elite social circles, with rumors flying for an entire month. It was everything I had hoped for. After the scandal broke, I quickly packed my belongings and moved back in with my parents. They stood firmly by my side, urging me to sever all ties with the Shin family. Shane's father, weakened by his illness, had no energy left to manage the company. Shane, burdened by the fallout and Samantha's constant demands, struggled to focus on work. The Shin Group's business took a sharp downturn. Desperate, Shane eventually swallowed his pride and asked me to return to help, but by then, I had already rented an office in the neighboring building, establishing my own company. I started my own company with the team I had built and took along many of the clients I had brought from the Shin family. Now the majority of them were my core clients. Shane, when you decided to use me for your benefit, you should have known this day would come. Emily, no matter what you say, without the Shin family, you wouldn't be where you are today, Shane pleaded. For the sake of old times, can't you come back and help me? For the sake of old times? I sneered internally. Did you think about old times when you let me die in the last life? I gave him a straightforward response. From now on, we'll go out. Separate ways defeated. Shane left in humiliation after that. I didn't bother keeping tabs on the Shun family situation. All I heard was that the company was struggling and that Shane eventually had to sell it at a low price. As for me, my life was entering a brand new chapter. Wealth, status, and a thriving career were now mine. I could do whatever I wanted. Mr. Lewis had recently been visiting my company frequently, often using business discussions as an excuse to ask me out to dinner. Even my secretary noticed. Miss, do you think Mr. Lewis likes you? I simply smiled without answering. Men's affection is often superficial. It wasn't until I became successful that he started to see me in a different light. His liking me was nothing more than fascination with the novelty of a woman who could rise against the odds. My approach to him was clear, neither actively pursuing nor rejecting him. Accepting his invitations was harmless, but I had no intention of chasing love. Even if I were to enter another marriage, it would have to be on my own terms. Mr. Lewis, ever patient, showered me with resources, introducing me to his network and connecting me with influential business leaders to expand my career. In return, I provided him with the best services within my capability. After all, mutual benefit is the foundation of any lasting relationship. Finally, unable to hold back, he asked, "What are you really thinking?" I thought for a moment before replying, "Seriously, Mr. Lewis, if I entered your circle as your woman and enjoyed your resources, what would happen to those resources if we were to part ways? Wouldn't they be immediately taken back?" He paused momentarily, stunned, because he knew the answer was yes. Romantic relationships are the most unreliable thing in this world. In my last life, once I lost my value to the Shun family, even my death didn't evoke a shred of sorrow from them. That's why I vowed to become someone valuable in my own right, not someone who relied on others to climb the ladder. This was the epiphany I had the moment I was reborn. Mr. Lewis's appreciation for me was rooted in my value. It wasn't until I stood as his equal that I became someone worth noticing and liking. He tried to reassure me, saying wanting a career and my affection doesn't have to be mutually exclusive. I gazed at the horizon where Ling Shan remained as breathtaking as ever. The mountain peaks were shrouded in mist, bathed in the ethereal glow of moonlight. The scenery hadn't changed, but the way I saw it had. In the past, all I saw was an endless maze of fog-covered peaks. Now I saw the extraordinary beauty of the mountains. Perhaps Mr. Lewis still didn't understand what I truly wanted. Was it a love between equals, a relationship founded on mutual respect and shared strength? Or perhaps it was the courage to meet someone at the summit of life. These were choices I couldn't make in my last life. On the night I died in the wilderness with my unborn child, I saw the mist of Ling Shan rising from the valley, endlessly flowing into the moonlit sky. In that moment I realized that the universe had always been giving me a sign. Even when trapped in dire circumstances, I could still fight to survive. Mr. Lewis might make an excellent partner, but he wasn't what I truly desired. That's why he kept asking me over and over what I was pursuing. What I've been chasing all along is the freedom to choose.